Okay, thanks for joining this morning. Today we're going to run through our P6-Scrubber, and we've got our newest versions. We've added a few more features to the tool in the last few months, and it's our version 4. So I'm Nicole Jordan, coming to you from Calgary today. I'm the founder and CEO of Emerald. I will do the lead-in, and Sue will do the heavy lifting. She's joining us from Wyoming, and she's one of our implementation specialists. So she's going to show us the tool in action. So P6-Scrubber is meant to address one of the common struggles that we face when we're working in P6. If we have an extended team, whether it be outside consultants or outside contractors, which more and more, we've got this sort of collaborative kind of project delivery mechanism. How do we make sure we've got all our schedules together in one place so we can work with them? So this is a common struggle that we face. So you probably have this issue too. If not now, you've probably faced it in the past. So I'm going to go ahead and ask a quick question here just to get us going. How do you deal with receiving outside P6 projects? Do you have a secondary database that you scrub them in? Do you modify XCRs manually, which is not a good idea? We've seen some pretty damaging things happen. Or do you import them into your main database and do some cleanup inside of there? So just kind of curious what people have experienced so far. Okay, so a few people voted. I'll go ahead and show the results, and as more vote, it'll change, but it gives you some ideas. We got a bit of everything here. Okay, so of course, I kind of mentioned it's not a great idea to modify an XCR. We've seen some clients do that and mess up the way the loads come in, which can cause all sorts of problems for your database. So it's not a great idea. Obviously, the best strategy is to all work in the same database, but that's not always something that can work for your team for a variety of reasons, security concerns, things of that nature. So we do have this struggle. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that our P6 system doesn't get polluted, full of values we don't want, codes, calendars, user-defined fields, resources, all this sort of thing. We want to make sure that we're keeping our corporate P6 tidy, usable, no interference with any of the corporate reporting we're trying to do. So those are things we try to do, but it becomes difficult when you're dealing with imports. The other thing that you might have is you might have some specifications as to what the contractor is supposed to be doing, they're supposed to be delivering, what they're supposed to be using. So being able to monitor all that, manage it, is a challenge, and that's why we built the P6-Scrubber. It was to help address some of this. So another quick question here is, how much time do you think you're spending each month on cleanup of your database? So again, this is going to vary, of course. If you've got a lot of users, a lot of importing, it's going to be higher. But we find with some of our corporate clients, they're easily spending a few hours a month, and sometimes more, trying to keep on top of imports that they're dealing with and keeping their P6 clean. Okay, so go ahead and take a vote. It's more out of curiosity to see what some of you have been experiencing so far. Okay, so 1 or 2 people answered. I'll go ahead and share the results, and again, you can go ahead and answer. So what we're trying to address with P6-Scrubber is these challenges that we've found that people are having to deal with. And another quick question: how often do you do imports? So that's another thing we're curious about. Is we've got clients who are importing, I'd say over 50 a week. because they get contractor updates every week. Now, monthly is also pretty common. Again, depends if you're getting a lot of updates from contractors. And then some of you may not have that much interaction with outside sources. So then it's more of a random kind of thing. Okay, so I'll go ahead and share for those who were able to answer, just to give you some info. Okay, so it does vary, of course. It depends on the way you've got your updates structured. But what we want to always be driving to as a project management team is getting our more updates. Okay, now if you spend a lot of time dealing with updates and keeping their database clean, you're going to want to minimize that. Okay, so again, this is something that P6-Scrubber will help. It will give you the opportunity to do more updating more often because you won't have to spend so much time dealing with keeping the database clean. Okay, so that's another key benefit that I think you'll see once Sue shows it to you how nice this tool is going to be to help you keep things that you don't want from coming into your P6 database in a simple, repeatable way. And she'll run through that. So how it works. So it's quite simple. It's quite a simple user interface. So the tool essentially lets you pick one or many files to bring in, and it will let you scrub them via some definitions that you set up. Okay, now we're going to scrub out some of the things that have been plaguing us a little bit for the last few versions, the POBS and the risk types. We'll clean those out. And then you'll be able to clean other things. Okay, so usually the global things, so calendars, user-defined fields, codes, cost codes, resources, things like that. Now, the way that it works is we also allow you to do some validations of a variety of things. So you basically set up, you can pull in the file or you can pre-set up what you want to allow. If you already have a standard coding structure, you may want to just pre-set up what you're going to allow, what you're not going to allow. Or you can bring in a file, you can read it, set up definitions, and go off of that. Okay, so Sue's going to show you that. And in this newest version, we've also put in some very simple prefixing, some simple scrubbing, complete scrubbing, and she'll run through that because those are some of the new features as well. Now, the other thing we do have inside of here, we have some special roll downs capabilities. So she'll show you the way that the calendars work and merging capabilities in resources and things like that. Okay. And then from there, we're going to be able to see what's going on in an output file, and the output will allow you to control a variety of things. So the version creation is also a new feature. We've got the outputs and we've got the notebook feedback. Okay, so those are going to be the things that she'll show you live in action. Okay, I will hand it over to Sue and let her take it from here and run through the software.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see the tool. And first of all, what I want to point out is that we do have two different versions of P6-Scrubber. We can have a P6-Scrubber as a standalone, where it is not connected to your database at all, and then you would set up your definitions as you needed, and then essentially run it outside without any connection to your P6 database. However, we do have a live version, and I am going to show you the live version today, that can be connected to your database so that you can verify data. So I'm just going to go ahead and log in, and of course we could point it to several databases so that you could compare that data in different databases. And I'll show you what that look like. So I'm going to sign in, and we get to our front page, and you can see, giving you a little bit of lay of the land. On the left hand side is where we actually have our kind of modules, our topics, if you will, of what you can take a look at and what you can control. So if I were to, go in and take a look at all of these, I can see that under each one, I have some different options. Um, so underneath project and WBS, as well as activities, I have the ability to actually check the format of my ID or my name of my project or my activities. So as Nicole mentioned, sometimes in the way of having specifications that you set out for contractors, this would be a way that you could easily check to make sure that those are in alignment with your specifications. And really they're very easy to use. So if I went into my ID name, and each one of these has a very similar setting, or look to it. First of all, I would want to enable that module and say that, okay, this I do want to run this particular module. And then on these IDs, this is just a comparison here. It's not something that's going to be corrected or anything in your file. It is a comparison. So I can go down and I can do a simple pattern. Or I could do something much easier. I could do contains with, starts with, ends with, etc. But on my simple pattern, I can actually build out what my in this case, my project ID should look like. So let's say I need to have a letter, and actually I need to have two letters, and they need to be uppercase. And then followed after that, I need a number, and I need five of those numbers, 5 digits. Then I'm expecting a dash. So I can go into my specific text and say, yep, then I'm going to have a dash. And then anything after that is kind of whatever. So, it could be anything. So I'm going to say I want any character, and there can be any number. So I'm going to put a 0 here, indicating that there's an unlimited number that can follow that up. Now, right here in my test pattern, I can see that it doesn't match because I don't have anything in there. But if I did put something in as an example, I could actually test and make sure that my pattern was set up correctly. Now, as I go down, I'm just going to go into each one of these. Uh, I have the ability to validate these, as well as um, decide whether I'm going to keep them or remove them. Now, I'm just going to go into activities. Right now, I am building what we call a definition from scratch, meaning that I don't have any other information that has come in here. Now we can do that, and this would be how you would do it in. Well, I guess either way, this would be how you would do it if you didn't have an import of an XCR file to assist you, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. But essentially, I would say I want to enable this, and then I would start adding my in this case, activity code types. So I would say I want to do my vendors, and they are going to be global, and it's giving me coaching as I go along. An action must be selected. Okay, well, good. I want to keep this in here, and if I am connected to the database, I could actually go into this new code type name, and I could find it and connect it to that. So it's going to show me over here on the right that this matches. So now if I am building this from scratch, I need to put some dictionary values in for this code type. So I have several ways I can do that. I can add them one by one by clicking the add button. Or I can actually use a bulk edit, which is a copy and paste. So if you had that in your Primavera database, this would be, of course, if you did not have, um, if this was not connected and it could not read those values, I could go in and I could go to my database and I could actually go out to my activity codes, and I have my vendors here. And so I could highlight those, I can copy, and then I can go over back to loader or to scrubber and copy them in. So it's going to give me that ability that if you have, some kind of list or something, that I can copy those in so I don't have to retype them every time. If you have a header, you can remove that first row, like in my case. And if you have an extra column that happens to come in, you can actually remove that column. And then when you apply, it's going to populate that for you as well. Some other options that I do have are that I can scrub extra code types. So once I have my definitions set, I can scrub those out. I can say anything that isn't handled on my list, I want to get rid of. I don't want them to come in. I can select that and it's going to allow that. Now I have the same option on my dictionary, and the dictionary, maybe you do want to have those come in. Maybe there are some new codes that may need to be created when you import this file. You may want to leave that blank. So it just all depends on how you want to handle that information that's coming in. So what if I already have a file and I want to use that file to create my definition? I can actually import the files here. So if I go out and I grab a file, an XCR, and we can do XMLs as well. So I just in this demo, I'm using an XCR, but we do handle XMLs. I can import this, and it's going to read that file and bring in the information that is contained in that file. So first of all, it's telling me that this is something new that came in, and it's going to flag that for me and let me know about it. So if I already had a definition that was loaded at this point and applied, I could see if there was anything additional to what I had created there. So I'm just going to go through really quick and take a look at some of these. So of course I want to enable these as I go through them, and I'm going to scrub my extra code types. And I can see just looking at this that I have this district code, and when I hover over it, it says that there's a dictionary validation that's failing on this. However, my code itself matches. So I want to pop open the dictionary, and I can see that it came in as DIST5. And I know I have district in there. So I'm going to go over to my value, and I'm going to see what needs to be done. Okay, and it looks like it's taking a little bit of time here. All right. Not sure what's going on. But anyway, I know in my database, and I should be able to see that because you saw what brought up earlier. But I put in D5 because I know that value is there, and I should have been able to see it. And I'm not sure why that's not working properly here. But once I can do that, it's going to remap this value from District 5 to D5 when I actually go and load that definition or that XCR. So it's going to remap that for me. Now with these other ones, I can decide whether I'm going to keep or whether I'm going to scrub them out. So I'm just going to go in and, you know, scrub some of them, keep some of them. Now the same I'm going to do with my UDFs. I have the option on UDFs, depending on which module they're in or which subject area they're in. I can choose if I want to scrub UDFs in a particular subject area. So in my case, I don't want to bring in any WBS ones. I don't need those. So I have a WBS down here, and I'm going to say that I want to scrub that as well. I can go and take a look and see if these are all matching or they aren't. So maybe I don't need my submitted project ID, but I need my file name. Don't need somebody else's notes. We're going to do our own. I have a submittal date. I have a client name, and it looks like I've got a duplicate here, so I'm gonna remove that one. And I can see which ones are matching P6 here. On my activity codes, we have just a little bit, and I want to make sure I went and enabled that. Yes, I did. Okay, so on my activity codes, I have a little bit more of an option here. Now, what I can do is, first of all, I'm gonna scrub anything else that comes in other than these. Is I may want to roll one of these global codes down to a project level. So what happens when I do that is that I can use this roll down here. Let's say I want to maintain this code, but I don't want to pollute up my own database at the global level, my global codes. So I can choose to roll that down at that point. So that's going to take this global and move it down to the project level. Now the rest of these are looking all right here. Let me check my, okay. So the rest of these, I'm okay to come in because I look like I have a match and I'm okay. These are ones that we're going to use here. Then I've got my UDFs on at my activity level. So I can choose which ones I'm going to bring in, which ones I'm not, and then go and decide what I'm doing with each one. So maybe I don't need both of these change orders. I have critical and outstanding. I don't need maybe some, set these as I need them to. And I can see again that these are all matching what is in my database. Now for resources, we have a couple of options here. We have the ability to, of course, see everything that's in here, as well as remap if we want to handle it that way. Now, it looks like I am not getting the correct hookup on my database because nothing is showing up. So I apologize for that. So let's say I have this civil engineering in my draft and my lead, and I want to actually uh, remap these to a higher level. I don't need that kind of detail when I import that in to my database. So I'm going to move these to a higher level so that I can report collectively as a roll up, so to speak, rather than all at once. So I'm going to change that to engineering CI, and then this is going to go to civil engineering, and then the same with this. And it's telling me that my value is not matching because my definition or my name is not matching. So now I've got those all set up, and they're going to remap into that higher level of my civil engineering there. Now I've also got resource codes. And those resource codes, again, I can go through, I can decide what I'm going to keep, what I'm not going to keep. Maybe I don't need a couple of these. And I have my UDFs as well. So same here. Keep, not keep. Oh, I guess I should. No, I didn't. Enable these as I go along. So I can pick and choose exactly what's going on here. Maybe I don't need this user text here. Then I've got the option for my units of measure. So a lot of times we already have a dictionary set up for our units of measure, and we want to perhaps, not pollute it up with a bunch of extra items in here. Now, what I can see here is this M3, this this lowercase M3 does not match my database right now. So what I can do here is I can say, all right, I want to bring this up and I've got my M3 here, and mine's a capital, and I still have a difference of what my name is. And so we call that cubic meters. So my abbreviation is M3 with a capital and cubic meters. So I'm going to remap that and keep my database clean on those units of measure. Let me enable that. Now calendars, we're showing several different pieces here. First of all, we've got our global calendars. Global calendars can be a problem because if I have another calendar in my database at the global level already that is a standard 5-day work week, if I import this in, it's going to overwrite it, whether it's the same or not. And so that can be a real problem when you are importing in other files from other companies. So what you may want to do is keep that calendar, but roll it down to the project level. So it's going to maintain that calendar, but it's not going to overwrite or add to your global calendars that you already have. So I can choose to roll all of these down so that I don't mess up my global calendars. I can also choose in this case that any additional calendar that comes in at the global level, I'm going to also roll that calendar down as well. We have project calendars, and this is for your information. So if perhaps you were needing to rename something at your global level to one of your project ones, it's the same calendar, and you know that, you might want to go in and remap that to the new calendar at the project level so that you're keeping that nice and tidy. We also have the ability to work with some resource calendars. So if you have a resource calendar that perhaps is already in your database and they call it something else, you could certainly remap that to a different calendar. And in my case, I'm going to go ahead and remap it here. Now on roles, this works much the same or the same as you would uh, for resources in your remapping. So let's say I want to, all these EEI ones, I want to prefix instead with CRENG. I can do that and select these as I need to. And then that's going to remap these and reassign them to that other, what I already have available. So I'm just going to do this really quick. And it looks like I have something different in here. So let me, oh, okay. So once I do that, I can deal with my cost accounts as well and go in that case. So I'm going to visit the simple prefix in just a minute because this is kind of a fast way to deal with some of the data. And so this one is more complicated, and I want to save this because it's something that I'm going to use over and over again. So I can go in and I can save this definition. So when I save it, I can come up and I can say, okay, well, this is a new definition. And no, I don't want to discard those changes. Actually, it looks like I had something that was already there. So I'm going to save this over my Scrubber demo example, and I'm going to select that and save. Now, if I did want a new definition, I could actually set it up, go in, and then save as to get that new definition in there. I just had one applied, so it looks odd there. So now I've got that information, that definition saved. I don't have to go do this again. So when I am ready to use that definition, maybe I've logged out, come back in, and I need to scrub some files, some XERs or XMLs. I can select that definition. I can tell P6-Scrubber to load that definition, and it's going to show me up here in the right-hand corner which one I have applied, and then I'm able to scrub my file. So when I scrub my file, I'm going to go in and scrub. I'm going to select the project or projects that I want to scrub. So I'm actually going to grab two here and do them at the same time. And I'm going to submit that. P6-Scrubber is going to go out. It's going to make the changes that I need, and it's going to give me some output here. First of all, what I'm going to want to do is look at my report. So P6-Scrubber provides a report that gives you an accounting of everything that was changed in that report. So up at the top is the summary, of course. It's telling me, what was uh, enabled, what was not enabled. If it's blank, it was not enabled. Otherwise, it's giving me what happened. And as I scroll down, I'm going to get some more um, focused information on that particular scrub. So I can see that it had some changes in my project code dictionary. And it's telling me that I scrubbed out client type as well as my schedule type or my type of schedule. No remapping was done on this one. And I did have a dictionary change on my district because remember I had my district 5, I changed to D5. And it's saying that yes, that was indeed remapped. And then as I go along, it's going to show me exactly what it's done. The gray tables are indicating what was set in the definition at the time that you ran it, as well as the results in the green tables. So I can get everything I need, all the information of what happened there. Now, if I'm satisfied with this, I can download my scrubbed file, or I could go back and I could change my definition, tweak it a bit, and resave it and run it again. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to download these results and keep it here. Now I can open that back up and I can see that I had two files that were produced. I have my clean XER in this case. It would be an XML, of course, otherwise. And I get a HTML report of the report that we just took a look at. So if I wanted to give some feedback to my contractors or to whomever sent me that schedule, I could actually, copy and paste pieces of it. I could give them the whole report, whatever I needed to give them feedback immediately on their schedule. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to visit a few more things in here. I'm going to go and I'm going to do a new definition. So it's going to say, it's going to blank everything out. Now, I have this option of this simple prefix. This is a new option that we've added because we had clients who were in need of something just to prefix their whole their file. They want to bring it in, but what they want to do is they actually want to put a prefix on it. So maybe the prefix is a dash, and maybe this is going to be Emerald Associates. So I want to put an EAI on it. And so it's going to prefix my project codes with EAI dash. And maybe I want to put that on all of them. So I could then go and put these all down and uh, have that occur here. Then I could save my definition as a prefix EAI definition and then simply run this on my file, my XCR or my XML. Now, another thing that we have added recently for that was requested is taking the file version that this XCR was given to us in and having the ability to roll it down to a previous version. So maybe they've sent this version, this is the version from 20.12, but I have version 16 or 8. I can take this XCR and I can tell it this is what I want to do with that XCR, and it will move it to that version. Now, another item that I have available in this general settings is that I can have the ability to look at, or I can create a notebook in the file. And when I show you P6 and after I've imported the file, you'll see that we produce a notebook by default of the report that we looked at. Now, if you don't want that report to come in, you could simply turn that piece off. Now, another thing that we can also control is we also, by default, produce some indicators on your project. And I'll show you what those look like in a moment. But we can produce those indicators. If you don't want to have those indicators in, maybe you just want the notebook and no indicators to see what was done on the scrub for that particular item or that particular file, you could turn those off and those will not be produced. So these are some options that you can set as you're running P6-Scrubber. So one last thing that I do want to show you is our simple version that has just been released. Now, on our simple version, this is just that. It is a very simplified version of P6-Scrubber. Now, when I sign into here, this is going to be, you can see over my definitions area, I have very simple items. I have 2. So I have my general, which, allows me to turn these on and off and whether I want to, roll down the version of my file or I can turn off my notebook. And the other option on these is that I can prefix them, or maybe I just don't want to import any of this information. So maybe I don't want any project codes coming in. Maybe I don't want any activity codes coming in. I can set that and save it. So I've got these options that I can do here. Then I could save this option, and actually I have it here already. And I could say, this is all I want to do. I want it to be quick and dirty and very easy. This is another option to our scrubber that we have produced here. So you do have that ability to have something that's very simple if you don't have the need to remap and to take a look at what is also in your database at the same time. So this is an option. We do have some that just don't need all that. They just need to say, I'm not going to import it, or I simply want to prefix them. So let's take a look at what it looks like when we import into P6. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down. Excuse me. So I'm highlighting here the import of what I just produced in my last scrub. I imported that file previously so that we didn't have to wait for that import. I can see that I have that notebook here that was produced for me. It's got all of my information of what happened during that scrub. So this is going to be helpful, especially if you are doing claims and things like that. Nicole was involved with claims early on in her career, and so she knows what we needed to provide in order to cover yourself on those claims. So we have this notebook that's telling us exactly, we didn't change this file at all. We just remapped some of the dictionaries and did some removal of some items. So we have that history here. We have that notebook telling us that. Now, in addition, I talked about the indicators that we can provide. And so these are going to show me. So in the case of my project ID, nothing happened. Everything looked good. It was clean. However, with my project codes and my project dictionary, I had some changes in there. And so it's indicating that for me. And then individually, it's telling me for each project code if I had any changes. So my project code for my district came in and the D5 matched, everything was good. However, on my type of schedule, I had a new value that came in. And so it's telling me that this is the new value that was produced here on my schedule status. We also have at the activity level created flags or the option to create flags so that you can see per activity what happened. My vendors came across clean. They're looking good. All of them are green. However, on my work type, it looks like I had some that matched. I have some that aren't matching here, and so I might want to take a look at those. We don't have any values for that there, so maybe we need to take a look at that, and so on and so forth. Now, on my discipline, I can see that I had some issues here. The C value was not there, and it was allowed to be created. I have some blanks. I have my XYZ and those. It's telling me that okay, there's you want to maybe take a look, just verify that these code values are okay because there wasn't a match when we brought this file in. And then we had some changes on our UDFs, and so it's showing us we had some that were allowed to come in, some or we had two that were scrubbed out, and so it's indicating that for me. And then all of my cost accounts were okay because I already had those there. So we do have that ability. Now, let's also take a look at what happened with our resources, and I'm just going to actually first of all, apply a new layout. And then what I'm going to do so that we have a comparison, and of course we wouldn't normally have this, but I have the original file as well as my scrubbed file here. So I'm going to open them both so we can compare to see what happened from the original to the scrubbed file and what changes were made on those resources and roles. So here were my resources to begin with in my original file. And then they were changed, and of course we have that indicator marking that, and what they were changed to um, when I remapped them. Unfortunately, we can't see the hierarchy on these role IDs, but it did indicate that they're changed, and they do have, instead of that EEI tree that they were housed in, the SCR tree that they were housed in. So it's going to let me know that. Now, on our simple one, you can see that I do bring in an XML, and essentially it was the same scrub, only on an XML file. So we're seeing the same items on that. And on my simple one, I brought in my simple, I brought a file in that was scrubbed with my simple load or simple scrubber. And what I have here is essentially I had some prefixes and do not imports that I had there, and it handled these as that. So we had project codes were not going to be imported, my activity codes were not going to be imported, and it shows me what was deleted. So I do have that very simple um, scrub, but I'm also getting a notebook with this showing me that hey, this is what occurred. We removed those in the file itself. So, any questions at this point? I want to make sure that before I hand back over to Nicole, that we may have um, any questions that before I come out of here. It's a lot easier sometimes to talk when I have the actual tool open. Okay. Well, if some questions come up, please put them in the chat, and Nicole or I will field those as we're wrapping up. So, Nicole, I'm going to stop sharing and I will hand off back to you.
Hi, Nicole. If you're talking, we can't hear you.
Okay. I'm not sure she can hear us as well, Shannon. Nicole, can you hear us? Okay. Um, Nicole, we cannot hear you. Do you want to swap over and have me uh, try to wrap up? Okay. So I am going to speak, I guess. So with P6 Loader, we can see that some of the benefits that we have here are that you're obviously going to be saving a lot of time. Um, Instead of spending hours trying to scrub those maybe in a different database or removing what you need to after import, um, you're going to have, a very much a faster way in which to scrub those files before they even come in. So they're not going to be have to be manually touched at this point. And then in addition, what after a scrub, you can give your contractors feedback immediately. You have that report right there, and it's it's there for them to use and for you to share with them. And Nicole, it sounds like we can hear you now. Oh, no, there she goes. All right. So again, it's configurable. You can automatically flag things. You can use a definition over and over, and it's actually very useful in the way of time and how easy it is. Nicole, I believe that we can hear you
Okay,
now.
okay. Switch
There you
headsets.
go.
I don't
All
know
right.
why. Sorry about that. Okay, thanks. So, and of course, Sue showed you how easy it is to really clean the files coming in, and then that's going to keep your P6 clean. So more and more of our clients are using their P6 data to produce corporate dashboards. More and more, using Power BI, Tableau, um, different corporate reporting tools that you're probably using. So it's becoming more and more important to ensure that the systems are being snapshotted into our data warehouse and then published out. So that's really important. And the calendars in particular, you don't want to take any chances of any overwriting on calendars because of course that can change not only your current schedule, it could also have some influences on your baselines. Okay, so you don't want to even be having that keep you up at night worrying about that. So we have a variety of different clients using the tool. We've got a very large engineering group using it for their a transportation client that they're working with in the US. They have, I think, over 50 scrubs that they're doing every single week. Not necessarily being done by this P6 experts, which is part of the thing that's interesting with this. This allows you to disseminate who's actually critiquing the schedules or receiving them, doing some critique on them, not having to centralize that. So that makes that process better and allows, of course, the first pass to be done by the person who's closest to the contractor providing the schedule. So that's an important aspect too, because they can communicate back whether they've met the criteria or not, and where any issues are coming in. And then they engage the P6 experts if need be. You know, if there's something they're not too sure of, they go to their project controls support team for assistance. So that's a scenario that is very interesting, and we've got other clients using it with some needing the simple scrub, so that's why we've just added that. So that's a new feature to the system, just have a very easy way to scrub all information not needed to support the schedule critique. Okay, so that gives you a good idea there. So what Emerald specializes in is all the Oracle engineering business unit tools. And we've been doing this for a long time. So over 27 years, we've been working with P3 up to P6 and everything in between with contract management, Unifier, 8Connects, and so on. So our team has always had programmers on the team, and that's why we have such a deep toolkit to offer to help you use these tools better. And of course, Scrubber is just one of them. We've got P6QA, we've got P6 Calculator, we've got P6 Loader, taps and caps for updating. So we've got a wide variety of tools specifically for P6 that you should explore. Okay, and they're all built to try and make things easier, better for you using the software. So let us know how we can help. I'm going to put a follow-up poll up there. Again, this is just to make it easier for us to keep in touch as appropriate for you. Okay, so if you think you want a phone call, if you think you're very interested, you want to understand more about pricing, or just stay in touch, just let us know. This just makes it easier for us to make sure we're keeping in touch with you the best way that you think works at the moment for you. Okay, so I didn't see any questions so far. So this tool is pretty simple, and if you're using P6 and doing any importing, I think the value is usually pretty obvious. So that's generally, we don't necessarily get a lot of questions in this webinar because it's fairly simple on how this works. So the idea is you bring the file in, you can set your definition, do the scrubs or keep or remap. So that's, or roll down. So we've got all those variety of features in there. Taking advantage of some of our other tools, because we've got calendar roll downs and things like that in P6 Loader. For people who are administering P6, we've done a lot of that legwork in Loader, and we've just repurposed it in Scrubber. Okay, great. So we'll stay on for another minute or two. If someone does have a question, you can put it in the question room. We'll tackle it. If a question comes up to you after, feel free to reach out to us. And we've got Sue's information on there, and you can reach out to her via email, and we can communicate that way. Okay, great. Thanks for your time. I'll stop the recording here and